Senior Fellow at the Independent Institute and Director of the Institute's Center on Peace and Liberty, and joins me live now from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for being with us on the program, sir. I first want to get your thoughts on this meeting. Of course, it's an important one because it's taking place off the back of that groundbreaking, if some like to describe it, that groundbreaking meeting that Zelensky had with Trump, where he said that 90% of the deal was done.
Yeah, well, the president tends to exaggerate things. The current situation in Venezuela, where he said he's going to run the country, these are the types of statements he makes. And in this case, I think he's probably exaggerating it a bit. But I do see this conference or the meeting as a very valuable step, because I think the Europeans are trying to firm up their security guarantees. Now, of course, they're still saying, well, we're going to do binding commitments, security commitments, and that may include military, intelligence, logistical things, diplomatic things as well. But of course, we want to see what the binding commitments are, because just saying you're going to do binding commitments is a step in the right direction. And I think that's a positive step, but this is going to happen gradually, I think. And I'm not sure we're 90% of the way there.
Specifically not on territorial issues. That remains to be one of the most, if not the most contentious issue on the table at the moment, one that is going to need concessions.
Yes, and I think, the the Ukrainians are very reluctant after they've spent blood and treasure and everything else to try to defend their country, and they're being asked to give up territory that the Russians haven't even conquered militarily yet. I think that's going to be a big snag. And of course, you have the other issues of the security guarantees that we just mentioned. How are they going to work, and who's going to provide them? And then the third issue, I think, is what's the level of Ukrainian forces that are permitted? And I think, that's going to be a little easier to do, because I think the U.S. will probably say, yeah, they can keep 800,000 troops if they want. But I think the other two issues are going to be more sticky. And of course, the Russians may not buy the 800,000. We always have to say, are the Russians going to buy any of this, even if the Europeans, including Ukraine and the U.S., agree on something? Are the Russians really negotiating in good faith?
Right. I think that's where Trump's role plays a significant importance. Give us a sense of how Trump is now going to receive Zelensky off the back of this meeting, given that they're, of course, discussing security guarantees. They're discussing Article 5, something that Putin is highly unlikely to accept. Well,
Putin has originally, and I think with some validity, has not entirely, has said, well, all this happened because of the U.S. pushed the NATO alliance right up to our borders, and we don't want Ukraine to be in there because Ukraine has been traditionally in the Russian orbit and has a lot of resources, industrial, agricultural, et cetera, during the Soviet times and now. And it's a very valuable country, and also it's on one of the invasion routes to Russia. So the Russians, they don't want to see any sort of Article 5 guarantees, because that's a NATO-like thing. And even if they don't call it NATO, an Article 5 type of guarantee would be a NATO type thing. So I don't think the Russians are going to agree to that at all.
Okay, Ivan Eland, thank you so much for being with us here on TRT World and sharing that analysis with us.